Welcome to Envision Broadcasting, the station designed to encourage, equip, and empower you for growth and success presents The Momentum Shift. A show where we get inspired, we get moving, and we get results. Every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern with your host, Eric Collier. He's the mayor of motivation and mental quicksand expert, bringing you inspiring interviews and empowering stories that will help to improve lives. If you're ready to start making the impossible possible, then you've joined the right show, because the momentum shift is what you've been looking for.
That's been my thing, for the last 40 years. In the first chapter of my life, I did this as a professional actor and as an acting coach. I did that for about 25 years, and for the last 15 or so, I've been doing it with professionals in other industries.
Right.
It's interesting. In the first half of my life, I was working with people who signed on to be on stage. I mean, This is what they were aiming for. This was their aspiration, was to be on stage. Right. I was primarily a stage actor, and I was primarily working with stage actors.
Right.
And then, I joke with a lot of my clients that, at the end of the day, they're cursed with being good at what they do, because they didn't necessarily sign on to taking stage. They didn't necessarily sign on to being in front of a room full of people. But once you're good at what you do, people want you to share your expertise.
Exactly. Coming in 2026 to the Leading Edge Network, the Momentum Shift television show with Sierra Collier. We've all been there. We all felt stuck. Kind of like we're doing everything we could possibly do, but we just can't move forward. I've been there, faced adversity, setbacks, and doubted myself. But what I learned was there's this powerful thing called momentum. And momentum is not about being perfect, it's about moving forward. So the Momentum Shift television show is gonna come to you with tools, techniques, experiences, stories of everyday heroes who are just finding a way to continue to move forward so that we can help you do the same. So join us on the Leading Edge Network, the Momentum Shift with Sierra Collier. And don't just watch, don't just listen, but understand that your shift starts now. Hello and welcome to the Momentum Shift. I'm your host, Sierra Collier, also known as the Mayor of Motivation. Every one of us carries a story, wisdom, insight, experience. But not everyone knows how to bring that story to life the moment it arrives. Today's guest has spent 35 years helping people do exactly that. Andrew Hurteau began in the theater, guiding young actors to find their voice, their truth, and their spark. He lived in the world of Shakespearean performance choreography, teaching people how to command attention and connect with an audience. Today, Andrew is the coach behind some of the most influential voices in organizations like Meta, Dolby, Gartner, North Face, Kaiser Permanente, and Samsara. His work helps leaders close the gap between the wisdom they possess and the wisdom they can deliver when the spotlight hits. Andrew teaches that owning the moment isn't about talent, it's about skill, process, and presence. And today, he's joining us on the Momentum Shift podcast and radio show to share that gift with you. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome today's guest, Mr. Andrew Hurteau. Andrew, thank you for joining me.
And thank you, Eric, for that lovely introduction. It is a pleasure to be with you here today.
Hey, I'm excited about it. I'm always excited about sharing the mic and sharing the podcast with individuals like yourself who are momentum shifting and then sharing how they did it to help others do the same.
You are mostly excited about just about everything, I've noticed, Eric. You just have this fantastic, fabulous energy that you bring into every interaction, and that's a unique gift, and I'm glad that you own it as much as you do, my friend.
Hey, thank you very much. I appreciate it. So let's start off with my favorite question to ask everyone.
All
and
right.
That is, Andrew,
yes.
What does momentum shifting mean to you, and how has it helped you shape your life?
What does momentum shifting mean to me, and how does it shape my life?
Yes.
Well, I think with regards to what it means to me and what I do, I tend to believe that one of the things you mentioned in your intro is absolutely 100% true, and what it has to do with momentum. And it's simply this: we all carry an enormous amount of insight and wisdom and story, and we all have so much to say. But in the moment of actually having the opportunity to speak to what we know, to tell our story, to move people and actually move their opinions and change minds and create change, the moment we get in front of that audience to do that, we don't always show up as the person that we want to be.
Right.
And I believe that for just about everybody that I work with, a huge upgrade to their professional lives is to, as you said earlier, eliminate that gap between the wisdom and the insight that we own and the wisdom and the insight that we can effectively share. Those are two different things.
Yeah. I like what you said there. It's two different things, and it just being able to express ourselves. And you think about it, leadership, that's a
Yes.
huge piece. You look at what Steve Jobs did with Apple
Mm-hmm.
and how he brought that to attention. And if you want to compare the ability to speak in front of an audience, motivate and inspire your team, you can flip over to BlackBerry, hit their leadership and how they couldn't motivate or inspire a team. And so now you no longer see BlackBerry. They're not around. So question for you, man. Tell us
Yeah.
a little bit about, Andrew Hurteau and what it is you do so the audience can really understand a little bit more of what I'm talking about in your intro and how you help people shape their stories.
I do this essentially in three different ways. Or do you want to know a little bit about me as well? I mean, just to
Yeah,
give you
yeah.
a sense of what my background is for the
Yeah,
audience.
because I know you're part of
I
my
know.
dad's favorite show.
I was primarily, for about 25 years, I was primarily a theater actor. I spent an enormous amount of time doing theater indoors and outdoors. I did a lot of Shakespeare. I just did a lot of different kinds of live theater was really my thing. I was only on one television show ever. Because I did all my work in the San Francisco Bay Area. I
Okay.
was a theater actor in the Bay Area, and I was pretty much working most of the time. But if you know anything about live theater, you know that it is just an incredibly amazing way to live your life. It's just not a very easy way to make a living.
Yeah.
And I have a family and two kids, and between being on stage myself and coaching and teaching other people to take stage themselves, I was out of the house about 70 hours a week, and I had two kids at home, and it just wasn't sustainable anymore.
Right.
So it was at that point I made the decision to do a momentum shift, to do to take advantage of that moment in life that I had and take all the skills and all the tools and all the insight that I had gained and make a full-time shift because I'd been working with, professionals in other industries kind of, on and off on an ad hoc basis for years. But this became a full-time shift to take performance skills and content development skills and story practice and storytelling skills and bring those to people in other industries who did not necessarily sign on to taking stage.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that for just about 15 years now. And the way I do it now, what I really do is I I I I execute my craft in
Okay.
pretty much three ways. I prepare people for relatively large events, those large conferences that happen in Vegas and all over the place where, 3,000 people show up and you have somebody taking stage to deliver a keynote. I'm someone that you bring in to coach the person delivering the keynote to make sure they have a keynote that's in their own voice, that's authentic. And then when they take stage, their best self shows up. So
Nice.
that's the first thing is event prep.
Okay.
The second thing is I'll work with leaders who have, you had mentioned leaders earlier, leaders who have entire teams of people who may have a new message or a new communication campaign that they are launching on. And they want to make sure that everybody's on the same page, singing from the same song sheet, and yet at the same time, making sure that their own individual personalities show up to engage their audiences. And so I'll do workshops for teams like that. And we'll
Nice.
do, full day workshops. Um, and then the other thing that I do is I do one-on-one coaching, either
Okay.
live in person or virtually, to just work with people who recognize that they're due for an upgrade,
Yeah.
that they're due to that there is a place where they are and their ability to share their story, and a place that they want to be, and I help them get there.
Nice. I like it. You said a few things in there that I like. One, you help them create a message or make sure they have a keynote that's in their voice.
Yes.
That authentic piece improves leadership, right? It helps quite a bit with improving
Oh,
the ability to connect and really build trust and credibility, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I love that piece. But then when we shift over to you, I think if you look at someone, majority of people just aren't shifting when they're in a career path and they have kids, a house, and a family, and they're just not up and jumping to shift. They're thinking
Mhm.
about it, they're wanting to, but they're not just up and doing it. How
Right.
do you connect with them to help them realize that aha moment that it's time to move?
Uh, my focus for those people, for the most part, if for no other reason, because I think I read it some. I think I read at some point that your average professional in America shifts their career about 7 times over the course of their lives.
Okay.
Um, and I don't have in many ways, I don't understand that experience for people, because for my life, I've had 2 jobs.
Really?
I was either a performer and teaching performance,
Yes.
and it's not, it basically for me, it's the same job. It's
Yeah.
like I'm doing the same job, I'm just doing that job for different people. I
Yeah.
think the thing that I really focus on when I'm working with people is I'm I get the sense that you are probably more the person who helps them realize it's time to make that shift.
Yeah.
I'm the person whose job it is to help them communicate that shift to other people and make a bunch of the adjustments from a communication perspective that they
Understood.
need to make in order to land where they're going to land.
Yeah. Understood. Yeah. That
Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. And just maybe somewhere in that aha moment might happen once they hear their own voices. And they're not singing somebody else's tune. They find
right.
themselves singing their own. So I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what I like too, man, about what you said is I've had 2 jobs and it's basically been the same thing. I'm I'm
Yeah.
I'm loving that because we grew up in a time where you get a job at one place and you stay there until you retire, right? With
Yeah.
our parents,
Yeah.
right? And
That was
so
my dad.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
yeah, my dad spent 43 years at Heister Forklift Company and maybe could count on his hands how many times he called in sick. And so when he found out I was
Yeah.
switching jobs here and there, he's like, "Whoa, what are you doing?"
Yeah. Well,
But I
what
think I think it's important because now I live in a place where I wake up in the morning and all I do is what I love to do, which is
right.
help people improve performance, whether it's myself or the people I come in contact with, or the government, civilians, contractors, military, or just anybody I come into contact with. So I like what you're doing there as well. It really changes the game.
It does. It absolutely changes the game. And I feel like, at the end of the day, that's one thing that we as coaches that we share is that I show up every day trying to working to help the people that I work with improve their performance,
Yeah,
improve improve the way they show up in front of a group of people.
yeah,
And you know, as a coach, I mean, you know this as well as I do. The personality trait that I believe coaches actually share, that we all share, is that we actually thrive on the success of others.
mm,
Like when others succeed, that's when we feel like we've done what we need to do.
yeah.
And so, yeah, I absolutely hear that.
Yeah, that's that interdependent piece, right? We all succeed. And I think
Yeah.
that's a big one. It's not just about me. It starts off with me, that self-awareness piece, but eventually it rolls into something bigger than just me, because life is bigger than me. It's
Hmm.
about we and how can we accomplish things. So when you look at it and you look at the over the time, all the work you put in, like what would you say would be the most common obstacle you encounter in your clients or that your clients are struggling with? Because you mentioned some big ones. I mean, Kaiser Permanente,
Yeah.
Samsara,
Yeah.
Dolby, Meta. I mean, that's big.
I think the thing that, we spoke about it a few moments ago, and this is something that I'm working with a lot and I'm encountering a lot these days
Mhm.
and dealing with on some level is What I hear from all of my clients, from everybody that I work with, they all are putting a huge premium on authenticity. They
Mm,
want to make sure that when they show up, that they are the person that is on stage.
right.
And I'll hear from people that don't want to rehearse because they're afraid that that rehearsing will make them stale. And I have to explain to them, rehearsing is not the same thing as memorizing. I don't want you to memorize a script. I don't
Right.
want you to do that. So I have to tell them that.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because so many people come to me and they tell me when I'm working with them that they want their authentic self to show up, but at the same time, they will show up with a script that they want to read that they didn't write.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so I'm from a perspective of, okay, I understand. You are a busy human being. I totally get that. And you have these hardworking people who have created this script for you. And
Yeah.
I get that too. But you do understand that we're going to have to make some adjustments because that may be the information, but that's not the Eric in the script. We got
Right.
to find the Eric in the script, and that's going to mean some adjustments. And then frankly, the other piece of that, which is also very interesting, and a lot of people don't think about, is it's really hard to show up as your most authentic and best self when you're doing a script that you wrote,
Right. Yeah.
because we don't write the way we speak and we don't speak the way we write. And
Right.
so people come up and they give me they'll start talking in these sentences that are 75 words long. And
Yeah.
I'm like, no, we don't talk like that.
Yeah.
We have much shorter sentences. We don't speak in subordinate clauses. There's no whiles and whiches and no gerunds and participles in the way we speak.
Yeah.
You have to sound the way you sound when you talk, because an audience, excuse me, Eric, an audience, they'll sniff that out in a moment and they will know that it is not your most authentic self.
Right. Yeah, I laugh. I laugh a lot, of course, but because I love to have fun and enjoy. But a lot of times I'm laughing because I see myself in some of those situations, and I've been there where I've got the script and I'm reading, and it's just really not connecting, and you realize,
And
look,
you
man, this ain't gonna get it done.
and you know in the moment, and
Yeah,
I've been telling people for years, it's like, look, you have a script. You're reading from the script because in the moment you need accuracy. You
yeah,
have information that you have to get across. I get that. And
yeah.
if you're reading from a script, the benefit that script gives you is if you just read the script, you get 100% accuracy to what you wanted to say. The
Right.
only problem is if you have 100% accuracy and 20% engagement, it doesn't matter.
Not at
No
all.
one's going to hear what you have to say.
Right. You're gonna sound like a robot most of the time, and you're gonna
Yes.
lose them. What is it? You have like 30 seconds to get to people's attention, and then they're gone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And
Yeah.
the thing is if you notice when you're listening to people, not everybody, because I have worked with people who are really good at reading scripts.
Yeah.
I've worked with people who have a facility for language when they're reading scripts. I've worked with those people. But most people, when they read, you notice it flattens out their language. That
Yeah.
reading words tend to make all the words have the same quality. And that's
Right.
definitely not the way we speak. I mean, even if you're just listening to the way you and I talk right now, I mean,
Right.
I tend to think that, I bring a lot of variety and dynamics to the way I speak because I've been
Yeah.
doing it for so long. But there's a lot of hills and valleys. Sometimes I get quiet, and sometimes I get loud, and sometimes I
Yes.
go fast, and all that variety helps keep people engaged, and it goes away for most people when they're reading a script.
Yes, it does. I love it. I'm just sitting here listening to you. I'm listening to your tone and you're kind of going, you like you say, going up and down. I love it. I love it because again, it draws the people's attention in, and that's what
Hmm.
you really want to do. And that's big when you're trying to move not just a crowd, but your
Yeah,
team. You're trying to
yeah.
improve performance in your organization. How do you connect with that? So I like what you're talking about there. And
And what
again,
you're doing is like you're moving that team. I mean, the thing is like when you're a leader that's reasonably high in an organization, I mean, you're speaking to your team, and your job is to make your team so excited about what you've just said that they take it to their teams.
yeah,
I mean, that's the goal of most of the messages that I work on, is like that proliferation of message. That like, okay, you get people so fired up when you're talking to them that they don't even leave the room before they've whipped out their phone and they're texting somebody and they're saying, this is what I heard just now. Eric just shared something really profound with me. We have to get on this tomorrow. If you got people doing that, then you have mission accomplished right there.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm having it's. I hope this doesn't make me quit. It's telling me to force quit Zoom here. Sorry, I'm not doing it.
I'm not doing it. I'll tell you where you can go, Zoom.
Yeah.
I'm the mayor of motivation.
That's right. As Samuel Jackson said in Pulp Fiction, I will strike down upon thee with great no, just kidding.
Right? Oh man,
Yeah.
that for many, many years was my favorite movie. It's
Oh
still in
yeah.
my top 10.
Definitely.
What a great
So
film.
so
Yeah.
so you're working with me for the first time.
Yeah.
And I'm preparing to speak to Vegas, or I'm preparing to speak to my team the first time as an executive.
Yeah.
Where do we start?
Where do you start?
Yeah.
I'm preparing you. You and I have never worked together before. I think exactly where we probably start is my primary job. My primary job is to get you excited about what you're going to share,
Okay.
is to put you in a position where you can't wait to take stage.
Nice.
Generally speaking, if I can transform you from somebody who has to lead a meeting with your brand new team into somebody who can't wait to lead that meeting with your brand new team,
Yes.
then you're pretty much going to show up. The guy that you want to be is going to show up.
Right.
And so the first, depending on where you're at, and that's really the first thing, is like, Eric, show me what you got. Show me what you have so far. And not like I want you have something to prove to me. It's like, show me what you want to share. Show me what your message is. Show me how you're going to highlight that message. How are you going to illustrate that message? Because for me, the first place I start with a lot of executives is storytelling, is putting them in a place where they share stories with their teams in order to get them motivated. I worked with this one guy once. This is just an example of this. I worked with this guy. I'd never worked with him before, and he had this annual presentation that he had to give to his team. And this annual presentation revolved around, he's a leader, and it revolved around every year the government put out new regulations on how they were going to execute on their jobs.
Okay.
And every year he had to give the same presentation. And he would go in and he would say, okay, these are the new rules and regulations. And it would be like this 45-minute long presentation. And it was some pretty dry, dare I say, painful stuff, because it was just about reiterating the regulations that are in this document. And I said to him, and I'm going to call him Eric just because I can. I said to him, Eric, have you thought about sharing stories with your team about how these new regulations actually make it easier to do business for them and their customers and their clients? Have you shared stories around how these new regulations are actually making your customers, their clients, money? That these new regulations create a more favorable environment for their customers and their clients to do their work. And he was like, well, no, I hadn't. Okay. I said, okay, great. That's what we're going to do for the next 2 days. We have 2 days. You're going to start sharing those stories with me, and we're going to figure out how we can plug them in to your presentation coming up.
Nice.
And so rather than just telling them what the rules are, illustrate for them the why. Appeal to their imagination so that they understand what the relevance and the urgency and how this is going to benefit them. That's exactly what we did. We worked on those things. He rehearsed them. He put together the presentation, and he did it. And then he came back to me, and we had a debrief afterwards. And he said, here's the thing. Every year I've given this presentation for 10 years. Every year I've given this presentation. And every year I walk away from the presentation feeling kind of awful and feeling exactly the same way, feeling like a traffic cop. And this year, I didn't feel like a traffic cop. This year, I felt like a leader. I felt like somebody who was giving them the spark they needed to show up and implement these new rules and regulations. And
Nice.
as you know, as a coach, that's like, yes,
Game changer.
you made somebody's day. You did
Yeah.
something for somebody that helped them out. And so that was a remarkable experience for me.
And that's a shift right there that
Yep.
could lead to even more success for him
Yep.
and his team as well. I think that
Yep.
is that's a big one right there. I love that story, man, because so
Yeah.
many times people will stand in front of you and they have no clue of how to put their words together, and they're so caught up with wanting to be in the background. Sometimes you just got to be in the forefront and take it, embrace it, right?
Well, what happens with so many people is like, we don't, when you and I spoke before, we talked about the fact that, being able to get in front of an audience and
Yeah.
speak and having a process for that and having tools for that, that's not something we teach our kids. That's
No.
not something we teach our kids once they get into college. Most people don't really learn that skill set. And so what winds up happening for a lot of the people that I work with is, they're 25 years old. They have to give their first big presentation. They're feeling like they get thrown to the wolves.
Right.
So they make their mindset, I want to make sure I get in front of this room and I want to make sure that I can demonstrate to this room that I have the authority to be there, that I'm right and that I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And that becomes what people focus on
And I'm gonna
rather
be
than
perfect.
exactly, rather than showing up in front of your audience and wanting them to connect with you.
Yeah.
That's where they don't ever make that shift until somebody points out to them that they have to, that it's important to make that shift.
Yeah. Is there something that you tell your presenters to um, understand when it comes to the audience and what they're looking for as they present? Because I know I've been taught a lot of times it's not what you want them to hear, is what they want to hear. But is there something that you kind of like a system that you use to help them understand and always stay focused on what the audience wants to hear?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, what you just said is absolutely true. It has nothing to do with what you have to say. It has everything to do with what they need to hear.
Yeah.
That, there's a question in the back of all of their brains, the Whiffam question.
There we go.
What's
Okay.
what's in it for me?
Yeah.
And if you're not answering that question for the audience collectively, and frankly, individually, if you're
Mhm.
not answering that question, then you can be a good speaker, but your content is not going to be content that actually moves your audience,
Yeah.
right? Um, but I also one of the things I always tell my clients, just because I think it's kind of funny, but it is absolutely true, is just like, you know, we have this thing in the back of our head. I think it's human nature. I don't think it's human nature to want to take stage, to
Yeah.
reach out and grab that spotlight. I don't
Right.
think it's something that most people do. And because of that, I think we have this adversarial relationship to our audience, that we think that they are out there to punish us and
Yeah.
ridicule us and, whatever.
The
And I say,
sharpshooters.
exactly. And I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, when all you're the only thing that that audience has in common is it is 1,000 people that are glad they're not you. That's really what it comes down to.
Right. You know what
And
I tell
they,
Go ahead, go ahead, I'll let you go
oh,
ahead.
no, no, no. What were you going to say? What do you tell
Yeah,
people?
one of the things that I always tell people, because you can get in that mental quicksand mindset, and as
Yeah,
you're presenting, you're so worried about what they're saying, about how you said what you said, how you're looking, and everything else, and you lose thought. And then you start critiquing yourself, and then you
yeah,
start spiraling, like I said, into the mental quicksand, and you're lost in your speech. You have no idea where you're at and how to move forward. I always tell people one thing. I said, remember, you're the subject matter expert. Nobody, you put this speech together. Nobody has any clue about what you came here to say today
right,
or how you
right.
wanted to put it. So don't
Yes,
beat yourself up while you're doing it.
yeah. I think one of the things that we lose sight of, because, you know, I can tell you are a diligent person and you work with diligent people and you ask them to be diligent, that they put the work in, they put in the hours and they build those decks, they create good visuals and they create good content, and then they show up. And the fact of the matter is we lose touch of, because we put all that work and time into it, that it's not about us at all. It's
Right.
about the audience. It's
Yes.
about whether or not they get it. So
Right.
one of the things I focus on with my clients is like, you need to develop tactics that are about connecting to your audience and making sure they get it and checking in with them to see that they're getting it.
Right.
Making sure that you are that you are getting the affirmation that the gift that you have brought to them is actually arriving where it's supposed to go. That's
Right.
why we call it delivery. What's
There
your
we go.
delivery like? That's why we call it delivery, because
Yeah.
you have a package that you're giving to somebody.
Yeah. It's like
And what you described is like that mental quicksand that is the definition of self-consciousness. That is
yeah.
what self-consciousness actually looks like. And
Right.
what we're trying to eliminate is that, well, if you're not conscious of self, then what are you conscious of? Your audience. And that's
Yeah.
what you should be conscious of.
Yeah. Focusing on giving them what they came to hear.
That's right. That's right.
Right.
That's right.
At least if you're giving them something that they didn't come to hear, you're at least giving it to them in a way that's making them think about it and want to accept it later on down the line. Right. Be a
and
farmer.
and you and you talk to your people, you talk to people about, one of the things you have to do is you have to read the room. Like, you
Yeah.
have a sense of who that audience is. Hopefully you've done your homework and you
Yes.
know who your audience is. You know what they need to hear. But then once you get there, you have to be able to read the room.
Yeah.
Well, self-consciousness is the antidote to being able to read the room. If
Yeah.
all you're paying attention to is yourself and what you're going through and that self-critique and all of those things, you're not able to read the room at all. You don't
Right.
have enough bandwidth to be able to pay attention to what's going on with you and what's going on with them.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sitting here listening to you and you say read the room. I go back to when I first started speaking. I would sit and I would speak and I'd be looking around the room and there'd be that person sitting there with their arms crossed and face scrunched up. And all of a sudden they got my attention. And I'm sitting there and I start tuning in on that one person.
Yeah.
Then realize I just lost the entire room
Yep.
because I'm focusing on that one person.
That's right. I'm so glad you brought that up, Eric, because and you said that you did that back in the beginning of your career,
Yes.
because, that's me, Eric, that is me circa 1993 when
Uh,
I first started, teaching acting classes. And I learned this when I was teaching acting classes, and I never really let it affect me when I made my momentum shift,
uh,
right? And I learned that the big rookie mistake is don't pay attention to the person who's not with you. Pay
right.
attention to the people who are with you. If you're doing your job, they will sweep those other people along. Not
Yeah.
to mention the fact, another story. This is a true story. This is from after I made my momentum shift. And I was doing a workshop. I had about, 20 people in the room, and I had a guy in the room who, was sitting here the whole time, arms crossed,
Yeah.
looking exactly like this.
Right.
And I asked him to get up and share and do like his homework and do his pre-assignments, and he did. And then he sat down and he did his thing. And I was like, I wasn't giving him all that focus. I was putting my focus to everybody else in the room. But you
Yeah.
know what?
What's that?
At the end of the workshop, he's the last person in the room. And I'm like, oh man,
He's about
I'm
to
gonna
give
get
you the
it now.
business.
He's gonna give it to me now. And he stood up and he walked over to me and he held out his hand and he said, Andrew, thank you. That was the best workshop I've ever been in. And I
Wow.
was like, dude, you could have thrown me a bone or something. You could have done something along the way to let me know that this was actually, a good thing for you. So
Yeah.
it's like, what I'm saying is, like, there are times when you also don't know what's going through people's minds
Yeah.
based upon what they look like. So the thing is don't worry about that person. Worry
Yeah.
about the people sitting next to them who are smiling
There
and
we go.
nodding. And
Yeah.
those people will fuel you and keep you going.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit of, if you ever watch speakers,
Mhm.
comedians, musicians, they have a ritual before they get out on the stage. Is there a process that you take yourself through or have your clients kind of take themselves through before they get out on stage to help them relax?
Um, Basically, what I do is when I'm working with clients, my process is a little bit different from everybody else's process,
Yeah.
because what I am coaching other people to do is different from what I do these days when I take stage. When
Okay.
I'm taking stage, I'm pretty much preparing to do uh, to do workshops.
Okay.
I'm pretty much preparing to go out and coach a room full of people. That's what I do when I take stage.
Yeah.
And what I do, my process is I get there early. I make sure I'm the first person in the room when I'm doing a workshop.
Nice.
I make sure I'm the first person in the room. I say hello to everybody. I learn everybody's names. So by the time the workshop starts, I know everybody's name
Nice.
and I can call on them by name.
Nice.
And I've also started up conversations. And what I'll do is I'll go around the room and I know what the topic of the workshop is. And I'll go around the room before we actually even start the workshop. And I'll ask people questions about what they're facing and what their pain points are and all this kinds of stuff. And I'll incorporate those into the opening of the workshop. Because
Nice.
what it does is it absolutely creates that relevance and urgency for the workshop group. It's like we are going to be working on things today that are going to affect how you do your work tomorrow morning when you get back to the job.
Nice.
Now that's me.
Yeah.
And that gets me relaxed. That gets me fired up. It gets me feeling like I am 100% relevant and what I have to bring them is going to help them.
Yeah.
When I'm working with other people, the process that I usually go through is specifically, for instance, for keynotes, when I'm working with other people,
Okay.
I have people get up on stage like before the audience starts coming in, and we'll do a vocal warm up, we'll play some improv games to get everybody loosened up and laughing, just to be
Gotcha.
doing some ridiculous stuff. Laughter is an unbelievable antidote for nerves.
I love
Unbelievable antidote for
it.
nerves.
Yes.
Get people laughing, doing ridiculous stuff. Okay, good. We're all fired up. We're ready to go. Good. Let's run the first 5 minutes of the presentation. Let's
Yeah.
run the first 5 minutes of the keynote. And
Nice.
just so they're comfortable with it, just so they feel like they're on stage and they got their energy up and they got everything going, then they are pretty much ready to go.
Yeah, nice. I like it. So let's talk about your team that you work with on these
Yes.
workshops.
Yeah.
How did you guys come together? Who are they, and how did you guys come together to form this company?
This company, I work for a company called Butterfield Speaks.
Yeah,
And my boss is a guy by the name of Dick Butterfield.
yeah.
And he and myself and our third coach is a woman named Amy Wazorek. And we all have remarkably similar backgrounds.
Nice.
We all, at some point, were in the performing arts. We all were actors. We were all teachers. We all were all, performance coaches, that sort of thing. And at a certain point in our lives, we all made the move. We all recognized that, the necessities of raising families, especially, for Dick and I in the Bay Area,
Yeah,
you know, it's just an expensive place to live. And if you are going to fund that, you're going to be out of the house a whole lot more than you want to.
yeah.
So Dick made that decision a solid 15 years before I did.
Okay.
He made that decision in the late 90s, in the mid 90s. And he started, his first clients were lawyers and scientists and doctors were the first groups of people that he started working with. And he put together this curriculum that we call the Power of Persuasion curriculum.
Okay.
And when we do workshops using the tools in this curriculum that are custom designed to help solve the communication problems that our clients are facing.
Mm,
The communication messages that they're facing,
right.
and also the engagements and the venues in which they are going to have to share those messages, and how they can share those messages most effectively for the teams that they work with.
Nice. I like it. I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, I'm going back to that moment when you decided to shift. And I'm thinking about you and Dick Butterfield, and I apologize, I forgot her name.
Her name is Amy Wazorek.
Amy,
Yes.
yes, Amy.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think about the shift that you just made here. And my question comes to this because sometimes we refuse to make the shift and we miss out on a lot of opportunities to really see the world and do different things, work with different people. So my question becomes like, where are some great places that your shift has taken you and some of the people that you've gotten a chance to work with outside of the
Um,
ones we talked about earlier?
I'm not going to talk specifically about the people that I've worked with.
Makes sense.
Only because I like to I like to respect my clients' privacy as much as
Yeah.
possible. So I don't talk
Makes,
about specific people.
makes
But
sense.
when I talk about the companies that I've worked with, um, I've done my fair share of traveling, working with the people that I've worked with. I've been Italy, Switzerland, England, all over the place, working with people
Nice.
in different places for different audiences. And that I think, for what I do, Eric, is really incredibly important. Because one of the things that we coach, one of the things that we teach people is, every presentation, every speech, every keynote, every whatever deals with what we call the preparation protocol. And
Okay.
that is essentially a way of looking at every audience as a unique group of people. There are no two audiences that are exactly the same,
Right.
and no two keynotes, no two speeches, no
Yeah.
two meetings should
Right.
ever go exactly the same because your audiences are very different.
Right.
And it's really interesting when you go someplace like Europe and you're working with a multinational company and you're in Europe and you have people giving a keynote in English for an audience. 75% of those people, English is not their primary language.
Right.
And they all have massive cultural differences around how they communicate and what they expect from public speaking and public speakers and keynote speakers and that sort of thing. It's
Yeah.
very, very interesting when you start looking at, what we do and how you coach people to prepare for that.
Yeah, I like it, and that's what I wanted to kind of show, because I know you're globally renowned, so I want to put that out there.
For better
You're
or for
not just
worse, Eric.
but opportunities come,
Yeah,
and sometimes we say no to them, and even though it's something we want, we say no. And so we got to help
exactly.
people, understand that you've got an ability, this gift to be able to stand up in front of people, and you're put there for a reason. A lot of times people don't realize it. I always tell people what my mom says. She used to tell me all the time, the cream rises to the top. You may be that individual that likes to stay in the background. You may be that individual who's quiet, but for some reason, people are attracted to you. People are
Yep.
pulling you forward for questions that they think because they know it
Mhm.
for answers or something,
Yeah.
and you're being called forward for a reason. I just want people to embrace the opportunity to take their shot, even though they may not be comfortable with it, and just see what happens.
And I would just only add, because all of that is so spot on, Eric. I love all of that. And the other thing to remember is uh and to understand is that I have a very specific way of, for instance, doing this conversation with you.
Yeah,
I never try to get people to present, speak, or share their story the way I do.
right.
I think one of the things I really try to do is I try to figure out what would your best self look like. So
Yeah,
that quiet person in the back of the room, their best self might be a quiet person. It
yeah,
might be a quiet person. And as long as that person shows up truthfully, honestly, and passionately, they will succeed.
yeah.
They will.
Yeah. I had somebody who was presenting, keynote speaker, energy, just loving it. And he said, you probably think I'm an extrovert. I am extremely introverted. He
Hmm.
goes, he
Yeah,
just,
no.
yeah. And it's one that I want people to understand. Don't label yourself because
Yeah.
I had an individual tell me I'm an intra extrovert. I was like, okay, whatever you want it is, whatever it is you call it. But when you get on the stage, you're killing it. And I want you to
Mm.
embrace that every moment. Just do what you do. I don't care how introverted you want to be outside of the stage. But when you step up here, just keep doing what you're doing because you're killing it.
Yeah, and you know what? I love that because I feel like as a coach, there are two words that I'm very, very, very careful of.
Okay.
The first one is the word but.
Ah.
And I tell people when I'm coaching other coaches, you have to be careful. You know what, Eric? I really loved your presentation, but the moment you introduce that word but,
Yes.
they don't hear anything you said before the word but. The
No.
only thing they hear is what you've said after the word but.
Yeah.
That one's relatively obvious, and I think a lot of people talk about that. But the other one that I think people really need to be careful with is the word should. It's
Mm.
like I try to tell people
Expectations.
exactly. It's like, look, you should not try to be. Don't worry about what you don't worry about what you should be. Worry about what you are.
Yeah.
Worry about what you're bringing. Worry about making sure that what you have, that what you care about shows up. Not how you package it, not
Right.
how you need to change it, not the adjustments. Let's start with what you have. And I think if people show up as their best, most whole selves, my job becomes much more minimized. I
Yeah.
just don't have as much to do if that person shows up, regardless of how loud or quiet or extroverted or introverted they are.
Yeah. That's what I like, when you're talking earlier, closing the gap. Every day we
Yep.
wake up,
Yep.
we're at a point where we got to take steps to move forward to close that gap of unlocking our true potential and just
Yep.
becoming who we could become. And
Yep.
if we're doing that on a daily basis, I found that momentum is not about getting started. It's about getting stuck. It's about continuing to keep moving regardless of the challenges and opportunity tasks we have facing in front of us. And a lot of people will give up because they don't see the end result.
Yep.
I look at it like this. I'm under construction for life. I may never see the end of what it's supposed to be, but my piece is I love getting up every morning and just continuing to close the gap. So tell us a little bit about what you would want to leave the audience with as we start to move out of here.
I'm gonna leave them because you just got me thinking about something that I wanted to talk about,
Okay.
but just very briefly, which
Yeah,
is,
go ahead. Do your thing. Don't cut anything
well,
short.
it's
We're
one
good.
it's one thing, people ask me frequently, like, what are the parallels between me being a theater actor and a theater teacher and
Yeah.
what I do right now, and how did that prepare me to do what I do right now? And one, that I don't really talk about or think about that often, but I did just now because you brought it up, is when you're doing theater, is you rehearse a live play, a live production for 8, 10, 12 weeks before that thing goes up on its feet.
Uh,
And every day you show up in rehearsal, and some days good things happen, and some days it's an exercise in absolute and total frustration. But
yeah.
the fact of the matter is you have this opening night looming on the horizon. And so the thing is there is this construction in front of you that makes you keep on showing up. And
Yeah.
the thing is because of that, showing up, putting in the repetitions, dealing with the frustration, casting it aside, and trying again with renewed energy and looking for that breakthrough. That sounds like what you want people to be paying attention to. And
Yeah.
I have I think that's what I want people to be working with as well. And my background points me in that direction.
Yeah, I like it. I think of something that I'm sitting here listening to you. I just watched a documentary on Martin Short, and I think what I
Mm,
loved about him
I
was
love that. That's a
yeah,
great documentary.
it
Oh my
was,
God.
wasn't it?
Oh my God, it's so he's just well, I've always thought he is hysterically funny, and I
Yes.
think he is as famous and as huge as he is. I think he's remarkably underrated as a funny man in our culture. He's just
Yeah.
got ridiculous skills.
Right. Yeah. His
Yeah,
ability to just do what he does,
yep,
the different
yep.
impersonations and
Oh my
voices,
God,
and just
Jiminy Glick. His entire career would have been worth it just for Jiminy Glick. Just such
hey,
a piece.
hey,
And the way
I did that was the first time I saw Jimmy Lee click.
Oh my God, you're kidding me.
I
Oh
am
man,
not.
he is so and like the way like when you watch that documentary, look, this is an advertisement for the it's on Netflix, by the way,
Yes, it
everybody.
is.
Just so you know. Um, the way he did you see the way he got Bill Hader going?
Oh
Oh
yes.
my God, Bill Hader just he just couldn't stop laughing. He was just shredding him. It was so funny. And he did that to everybody. He did that to
Yes.
everybody and anybody for decades. So
Yes.
funny.
Oh, it was
So funny.
hilarious. Just sitting there
Yeah.
watching it. But what I liked about him was he looked at his career and he's like, it's the failures that have given me life. It's the
Yep.
failures that have made me what I am today. He said the successes are small and few,
Mhm.
small numbers. They're not like everything was a hit every time it went out there. He said it's just things that I did that I wanted to do and try that have made me who I am today. And I love that. And I think I
And
encourage everybody to just give it a shot.
and that success, it's like, on the, the thing is like, if you have massive success and you try to go out the next night and try to reproduce that, that's
Yeah,
practically a recipe for failure. That's
right.
practically like ready to go out and screw it up. But if
Yeah,
you go out and you do something that you're able to work on and focus on, that's a recipe for getting better.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, definitely. So what do you have coming up? Almost called you Martin. I apologize.
What I have coming up, I am
Yes.
I am 2 days away from vacation, my friend. I'm going on vacation.
Oh, nice. And I just kicked my camera, and so I lost video footage here. But hey, we'll
There you
figure it out.
go.
All right, let me switch to my other camera. Oh wow. Let's see
Is that
here.
because is that because you didn't do what Zoom wanted you to do?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is vacation? All right, cool. So
Yeah.
where to?
My wife and I are heading to Europe to meet up with my daughter who's studying there right now.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
Congratulations. I
Thank
gotta
you.
adjust this camera.
There you go.
Congratulations. Should be
Thank you.
pretty nice over there right now.
It's a little warm, I understand, but it's okay. I
Yeah.
can live with warm.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, I
fine.
can definitely, right? Nothing like it's nice over in Europe, so
Yeah.
cool deal. So how can we connect with you?
You go to the aforementioned Butterfield Speaks website, butterfieldspeaks.com/Andrew. And we're in the process of building out a landing page where if you get there and you subscribe, there will be all kinds of special content available only to subscribers. One of my wife's favorite things that I do is I get up in the morning and I do these caffeine fueled rants based, based upon what I'm thinking about that morning. And every once in a while, I land on something that's actually relevant and useful for people who want to get in front of an audience. And
Nice.
promise, those are the only ones we will post.
Nice. I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. Cool. Well, Andrew Hurteau, thank you very much, man, for joining me. I really enjoyed this conversation. I love your energy, man. You come with a lot of energy, and then again, the way you carry you're definitely an example of what you do. You walk the talk. You not only talk. I can't get it out. Not only talk the talk, but you walk the walk. And I think
Thank you, Eric.
that's a great thing, and I love it, man. Again, thank you for joining us. You truly are a momentum shifter as a father as we're both fathers and husbands. I commend you on making that shift at a time where you're a family man, and it's always tough sometimes to make that decision. So I commend you on all the work you do. Keep pushing because nobody else is going to do it for you. Love it.
Thank you, Eric. And hopefully we can do this again sometime. Let's stay
Oh,
in
I'd
touch.
love to, man. I'd love to.
Yeah.
I had a great time. I try to have a
Yeah, this
great
is
time
great.
all the time, but it was really a great time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That's it for the Momentum Shift podcast and radio show. Always, always understand that if you just take a shot, you never know. Don't worry about the percentages. Just take your shot. You never know. It may go in just for you and create that momentum shift you're looking for in your life. And it's an opportunity for you to rise up, rebuild, and redefine what's possible for you. I'm your host, Collier, the Momentum. And this has been Andrew Hurteau, my guest. And thank you for joining us. Until next time, just keep pushing because nobody's going to do it for you. Take care.
Thank you for joining The Momentum Shift, a show bringing you interviews and stories of incredible people to help you get inspired, get moving, and get results to ultimately create the life-changing momentum shift that will improve your life. Join host Eric Collier, the mayor of motivation and mental quicksand expert, every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern for The Momentum Shift, the show and change you've been looking for.